So, welcome everyone again in our podcast focusing on corporate venturing. This time, for the third session of our podcast, we're going to look a bit deeper into open innovation strategies for corporates, and we're going to zoom in on accelerator programs, corporate run accelerator programs. Before I introduce you to our very interesting guests for this session, maybe a quick word on what open innovation is. Open innovation, as defined by Henry Chesbrough, is a more distributed and decentralized approach to innovation. It's based on the observations that useful knowledge today is widely distributed and that no company, no matter how capable or how big, can effectively innovate purely on its own. So there's constant in and outflows, and that obviously requires a very clear strategy and structure, as well as architecture, to make sure that the different participants are well connected in the ecosystem, in the open innovation ecosystem. So for businesses, open innovation is actually a more profitable way to innovate because it can reduce costs, accelerate time to market, increase differentiation in the market, and also create new revenue streams for the company. So I have some people with me here today that are quite familiar with the topic. So maybe first of all, my colleague from Germany, Philipp, a consultant at PwC that focuses on open innovation and who has been helping corporates to collaborate with startups for the past 4 years. Philipp, would be great if we could hear a bit more on your background.
Sure thing. Hello. Happy to be here. As you mentioned, for the past 4 years, I've been working with corporates from different industry, helping them to collaborate with startups, which led them to partnerships, customer-supplier relationships, or even investments. For the past 2 years, I've started my own company with a business partner and have been able to view basically both sides of the coins ever since then.
Great. Looking forward to learn on open innovation from you. Also with us are two guests from Heraeus, the German corporate. First of all, we have Florian Theisen, who is a venture catalyst at Heraeus.
Yes, hello. Thanks, Elise, for having us.
Great. And also Mario Hehle, the head of innovation and senior vice president of Heraeus.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here.
Great. So maybe Florian, Mario, for the people who don't know Heraeus, would be great if you could explain us a bit what you do and what the group stands for.
Yeah, so I just start with explaining what Heraeus is and who Heraeus is. Heraeus is, as you mentioned before, a German-based, fully family-owned company. We are a group of companies, actually, and we have about 22 billion euro in turnover with about 15,000 employees working for us globally in about 40 countries with more than 100 sites. So we are a really international company. Our focus area is precious metals and advanced materials and their applications, which we deploy in a multitude of different industries. To do so, we have 11 so-called global business units, which are focusing on their verticals. And just as we're now talking to somebody in Belgium, I think quite interesting with that, one of these business units is headquartered in Belgium, Heraeus Electronite, which is focusing on sensors for the steel industry. As part of the Heraeus group, my team, Corporate Innovation, is actually helping the different global business units in, let's say, using the most advanced and state-of-the-art ways to innovate. We have 3 pillars where we support the business units. One is actually our brand new innovation center here at our campus in Hanau, where we are running the innovation center and managing the community. And secondly, we do innovation management, bringing new methodologies, tools, and also processes to the company. And the biggest part of it is open innovation. And we are very happy to talk to you about open innovation and our journey in this today.
Great, thanks a lot for that introduction. I understood from our earlier conversations that the innovation group, it's not just a business unit, it's really what drives a lot of things happening at Heraeus, especially in the field that you're in. You told me that the innovation group led a transformation of the company recently. Could you tell us a bit more where you came from initially and where you transformed into with the innovation group?
Oh yes, for sure. So you have to see that Heraeus has a long journey behind it. We are actually founded in 1660, and since then we are developing ourselves into a global company and a market leader in precious metals and advanced materials. And to do so as an innovation leader, as a technology leader, we always had to keep up with the leading edge of technologies and developments. And we were quite successful in doing so, to be honest. But over the last 10 to 20 years, the way how to innovate has changed dramatically. You have already mentioned Henry's Jasperow and the open innovation concept. This is one of the, let's say, paradigm shifts we have seen in the 21st century. So opening up how we do innovation, but also the rise of the startup economy or the digital transformation brought a lot of new opportunities, but also threats to our industries. And such, as we saw that there are a lot of new challenges, we tried actually to master these challenges with new approaches. And just to mention probably two of them is the one I've mentioned before is our new innovation center, which we opened up about 2 years ago here in Hanau. We actually have invested quite a lot of money into this because we think that it makes a lot of sense to have a critical mass if we're doing innovation, bringing together experts from several global business units which are working on, let's say, the same technical topics like chemistry or sensing or simulation in so-called focus areas, but also bringing in cross-functional teams, which we have salespeople, marketing people, R&D people working together on new innovations. And actually bringing these people together and opening up this way of how we are working also to the external world. So bringing external parties into this place, like startups, but also applied research, universities, etc., gives us a completely different opportunity to foster innovation in our company, and also an opportunity to transform in a kind of a cultural change how we do innovation, to transform our people and the mindset which we need to being fast enough and focused enough for the challenges of today. And the second thing, which is another thing we started, is corporate venturing. A few years ago, we were not actually we hadn't had the right structures actually to deal with startups. So we were engaging with startups from time to time, but at the end, there was not call it a structured process and an organizational structure behind it to professionally work with startups. And it was absolutely clear for us that we need to be a trusted and a professional partner also for startups and also other partners in the open innovation ecosystem, that we can add value to these partnerships. And such we started quite a few activities. One of them is the Heraeus Accelerator. We will talk a bit later about, I guess. And it just should show that we are now, with new approaches, try to change our innovation setup, let's say our innovation system, to keep up with the challenges of today.
Yeah, really interesting. We often see with corporates that work together with startups or that are actively setting up an open innovation strategy that it sometimes becomes a bit of a one-way street, while actually in the definition, open innovation goes into two directions. So you capture innovation from external parties, but you actually give something back as well in the form of innovation or knowledge. How do you see that at Heraeus, and how do you make sure that it's a two-way conversation?
So first of all, I think what is absolutely clear, a good and a successful partnership always has to be on an ICE level. So it has to be a win-win for both parties. And I think that's actually how we approach it. As a global technology leader in our field, and with a global market access and a global footprint, we definitely can help specifically startups not only to develop their technical propositions, but also to scale on a production and logistics side, and also to get market access on a global scale. On the other hand, startups can help us a lot in bringing new and fresh ways of thinking into our companies, new approaches, which we haven't had the chance to look at, or actually which were quite outside of our core business and our main scope. With everything which we are doing, we're always trying to balance this so that we have a so-called win-win partnership. And one example I can give you here is also our Accelerator program. Because if a startup is accepted to the Accelerator program and onboarded to the Accelerator program, they are doing proof of concept projects with our global business units. And you know, the technical valuation, but also the commercial valuation of the offer is done by both parties. So we can bring in our knowledge about the markets and about the customers. The startup can bring in their technology know-how, or actually also their new disruptive thinking schemes. And we do this, as said before, in teams. We also support them from a corporate perspective and on other regards, like tax issues, legal issues, and things like that. So we are really happy to support the startups in a way that they will be successful in the market, because if they are successful in the market, we will be successful in the market as their partners. And such, we now have quite, let's say, built up a system, an ecosystem of different tools and platforms in our company, which have the ability not only to take everything and use it to our best, but also to give back what we can give, to make a joint effort and a joint success at the end.
Yeah. You make it sound very easy, but I can imagine that the cruise ship and the speedboats working together also has quite some challenges. Can you maybe explain a bit, what you learned in the collaboration with startups that are very agile, speedy, quick at their core, and then of course a larger corporation that has, in any case, more processes and rules in place?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think probably everybody who was working for a big corporate or a startup, and probably also working with both, knows that there are a lot of challenges which you have to overcome. I think the most important thing from a corporate perspective is that we have to understand and accept that startups are different. Yeah? Startups are not just another business partner on a corporate level. They are different. They are different because, as you mentioned, they're most likely have a lot of scarcity and resources. They are smaller, they are more agile, they are faster. They probably don't rely on long-term planning. They have to change their way forward, probably day by day. And this is not what corporates are really used to. We need more solid ground, long-term planning, decision-making based on evidence, and that's very difficult. How you actually can work with this is, I think, what we really need is a structure which can help to bring these two parts together, and you need people who are able to bridge these two call it philosophies or cultures. And this is what we did also with our corporate innovation approach. What we have, and Florian is one of them, we have venture catalysts. The main job of a venture capitalist is actually bridging the gap between the big corporate and the startup, helping the startup to navigate through this organization, but also helping the global business units to work with startups and then understand their needs and their challenges. On the other hand, with approaches or platforms like our Accelerator program, we have built up a kind of a safe space or a sandbox where the business units and the startup can work together and learn to work with each other and learn from each other a bit outside of the daily routine which you have in our company and the processes which are in place. So you can be faster, you can be more agile, and actually you can develop a kind of an understanding for the needs and musts on both sides. This is difficult. Yeah, that's not easy to do. This is each and every day a new challenge. But I think if you have people who are really enthusiastic about it and the organization which stands behind it and the structure, an organizational structure which gives you the opportunity to do it, I think then it's doable.
Yeah. Yeah, so Florian, I understand you're one of the bridge builders, a venture catalyst. I understand that's quite the challenge. Yeah, I'm sure that you also have relevant insights to add to us.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that obviously it's a lot of talking to people. It's really thinking about who the stakeholder internally are that need to be involved, and we need to address them before the processes come to them, because startup is not a topic that just naturally comes to everybody. So we need to talk to people in the whole organization, like the procurement department, the IT department, the site management, also people from legal and intellectual property. So I just want to stress that working with startups really affect a lot of stakeholders within the organizations, and you need to go to them before it affects them. You need to make an understanding and answer the questions that they might have, and yeah, it all helps to speed up process, because speed, as mentioned before, is important to the startups especially, but we also want to be quick, and it is always good to talk to people so that we can become quicker without diluting our safety and compliance standards that we have, and these are also very important.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the corporate venturing, but also the Accelerator program. Maybe Philipp, you having supported Heraeus in their open innovation strategy, but also having worked with other clients. Do you see there are a ton of different forums on how corporates can work together with startups and how they can achieve open innovation? Did you see any other relevant ways of working together in your experience?
Yeah, actually, so far, as you mentioned, there are multiple ways of working together with the startup. We typically see three forms with our clients. The first one is becoming an investor, financial collaboration. Second one is becoming a partner, co-creation, which Heraeus does. And the third one is becoming a client of the startup, meaning implementing the startup solution, improving processes or a business model. And becoming a client of a startup and engaging in this customer-supplier relationship is still rather rare in Germany. We actually just conducted several interviews with corporates to find out the reasons for that. And two things came up. First one, it is still difficult for a lot of corporates to assess a startup, meaning that startups are still seen often as a black box. There are multiple reasons for that. Most of the time, there are not a lot of valuable information online, or even the descriptions of a startup tend to be overwhelmed with buzzwords. So it's very difficult for them to really get a good and clean view of the startup. And the second thing is the uncertainty about the lifetime of a startup. Corporates are afraid that if they choose to switch to a solution from a startup and they might need an update in 3 to 5 years, that this might not be possible because the startup was not healthy enough and it didn't make it that far. So they tend to still rather choose a established supplier in a client and supplier relationship. The second thing, becoming a partner, which Mario already described, and providing both sides with the benefits is quite common nowadays, and you can see really startups having or using those benefits, accelerating to another stage, and which comes up now, or actually have been growing for the past 5 years, I think, is CVC, corporate venture capital. If you look at the numbers, globally, CVC-backed funding has more than tripled for the past 5 years. In Germany, it also doubled. And we hear a lot of companies that see, after partnering with the startup, they see investing in it as a logical next steps, which it really is.
Yeah, sounds very familiar. I think also post decision to work together, there's also another challenge that we see coming back quite often, is that often the startup and the corporate are not aligned on what success of the collaboration means. So the measurement or the KPIs that are set are not always the same for both the corporate and the startup. Is that something at Heraeus that you struggle with as well, or how do you tackle that specifically, Mario?
I think you have to look at let's say success factors from different perspectives. So if you want to decide what is a success for a startup business collaboration, it is very different. It's depending on what you want to achieve. What are your goals in this collaboration? And we just said, and it was just mentioned, that there are very different models how a startup and a corporate can work together and what they want to get out of it. So one opportunity is that the corporate wants to, source in technology which corporate is using in their offers, and then probably licensing technology or using that technology in their platforms. Another opportunity is that they can actually, deploy their technology platforms into the offers of a startup and actually grow with the startup in new markets, and so new market access. And depending on what you want to see, you define different success factors on the let's say operational side. On the corporate innovation side, what we are doing, so how we measure how successful we are in establishing startup collaborations, it is fair to say that we are still in the beginning of our journey to corporate innovation or to corporate venturing. At the moment, we are much more focusing on process KPIs than on long-term financial KPIs, which means for us, it's important how many startups can be introduced to our business units in their field of interest with pre-selected opportunities, which we call qualified lead. This is something we are measuring. So how many of interesting opportunities we bring to the table. Another important measure we take is how many partnerships we can establish out of this process. Because this is actually what's interesting for the business unit. It's not interesting how many opportunities they see. It's interesting how many impact they can achieve by working with these partners. And as is a long-term thing to see the final outputs, the financial returns. So what we are counting is the partnership itself. So kind of the joint development agreements, the licensing agreements, or actually also the investments we do with startups. And over the long run, we will then specifically to the different areas where the startup and corporate is working together define the classical, call it financial KPIs, which we want to see at the end. More, establishing growth, more revenues, higher profits, whatever.
Yeah, really insightful. We mentioned it a few times already. So Heraeus has an own accelerator program for startups, which was launched with the support of PwC. Florian, can you maybe tell a bit more about how this accelerator program came to life and what it is exactly?
Yes, sure. So in corporate innovation, the main task is really to facilitate partnerships. And this is what we've been doing for 2 years now. And at a certain point, we felt that we need something to really boost these activities. So we were looking for different opportunities. And an accelerator program was very appealing because it has different benefits. So first of all, you can or you have the chance to get to know the startups in a very short time frame. So you just mentioned the question, how do we ensure that the goals of the startups and of Heraeus are the same? And I think this accelerator program is an excellent tool for this, because in a very condensed way, you have a lot of discussions and you actually get to know each other in a 3 months project, for example. And this helps a lot to really align and elaborate the goals. And this accelerator program also gives us visibility in the ecosystem, which is also very important. So Heraeus is a family-owned company and known in different industries, but in the startup world, we felt that we would still need to work on our visibility, and this was what the accelerator is also meant to do. And although we just did one batch so far, I feel that this is also leading to some success, so we get recognized a little bit easier by startups. And these were the main reasons for this.
Yeah, and Philipp, you also indicated that accelerator programs are something that accelerator programs that are being run by corporates is something that we see more and more. How do you explain that, and what do you think that the value of PwC in supporting those programs can be?
Those are good questions. I believe that the majority of companies realized, especially since for the past 10 years we've been already or we've had 2, or if you take it a little bit longer, even 3 crises, and companies have to diversify and innovate. And actually, statistics show that companies who throughout crisis still invest in diversification and innovation, they're able to come out even stronger through those crises. So I do believe that now it's already common knowledge that you have to use open innovation and to look outside your core business for new business models and evaluate those and really engage in those. The way that PwC can help with such ideas and actually choosing the right path is, I believe, through our global partner and expert network. Since we have, through our clients, so many insights from diverse industries, we're able to share those insights and also navigate a little bit the client toward the right direction and help co-create with him and with the insights from that global holistic view to find the right path.
Yeah, great. Florian, I think you could also add something to that.
Yes, so more or less now a comment from a customer perspective. So when we first said, okay, we would need an accelerator program, we had obviously a vague idea on how this concept could look like. And accelerators, there are really many in different forms. And PwC really helped us to find the right concept for us. So they ask a lot of questions, And what was really helpful in setting up this accelerator that fits to our needs and our goals, we could always ask PwC for quite detailed questions. So there are so many ways to set up Accelerator, and for the detailed questions, we could always turn to PwC and ask, say, what are your experiences? And they would come up with a certain guidance, let's say. So they could show some examples, and it was always easier for us then to make up our minds. Okay, what is it really that we want, and then we collectively made a decision also on the details. That was very helpful.
Great to hear. So the first session or batch or cohort of the Accelerator program is now behind us. It's on to the next one now that is starting off soon, I guess. Florian?
Oh, yes. So the first batch was last year in 2019, which was focusing on electronics. And this year, the main topic is medical devices and sensing. So we bring together different global business units from Heraeus. With PwC, we did a workshop and asked them, okay, so what it is that they are really looking for in startups. And we already finished the screening phase and made the decision who we want to invite for our pitch day. That's probably going to be in November. So this is when we want to have the pitch day. We postponed it actually because of the COVID situation, because we think that it's very important to have people in face-to-face meetings when they want to get to know each other. We still hope that November would be a good time for this. If because of the circumstances, we cannot meet physically, we will change to a digital version of it, but that's just a backup plan.
Yes, it's quite a challenge. We've seen it in our own accelerator programs as well, going from fully physical to fully virtual, and now hoping to land somewhere in between to make sure we have the best of both worlds. I think this was really, really interesting hearing from all of you. I think a lot of insights were gathered in the last half an hour. So I first of all want to thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and expertise. For anyone who's interested, who's listening and who's interested to learn more on how PwC can help corporates with accelerator programs or open innovation in general, or if you want to check out the new and very newly launched, fresh, improved website of Heraeus dedicated to innovation, then make sure to check out pwc.be/podcast, because there you can find all the information that you're looking up for. So thank you very much, and let's speak again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.